Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's webinar. We're talking tonight about an amazing topic that I think a lot of us truly take for granted, and that is water. And we're going to be talking about why water is so important, and how to shift the water that we're drinking as well, and what it can do for our bodies. My name is Tina Johnson, and I'm an advanced wellness coach, and with me is Dr. Chris Morris, who is a naturopath, and we are delighted to be here with you. We are the co-formulators for STEM Renew, and again, this is just such an important topic. Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you to get started.
Yes, we really thank you so much, Tina, and again, welcome everyone. We're really excited about this talk because it helps everyone understand that we're an energy being, and for that energy to be expressed, for the energy to move through the body, for the energy to even exist, requires a conduit, and that's water. So water is programmable. Water is a conduit for movement of energy and the stream of biochemistry that happens in the body. So it's so critical, and unfortunately, Tina, we live in a culture today that doesn't appreciate the degree to which water is so important. So when you take a look at this slide, you see how ordinary water is just doesn't fit into our biochemistry. It requires structured water, living water. And that's the difference between something that's dead water we have to convert and put effort into versus living water that we can use readily. So, you know, there's so many ways that water is destroyed.
Oh, exactly. And if you look at this photo here, the one on the left, you can see that ordinary water just bounces off the outside of the cell, whereas the structured water actually goes to work inside the cell. And our water right now is under attack, whether we're conscious of it or not. You know, we're really seeing the death of our water. We used to have incredible living water that we all had access to, and now the water that's coming out of the tap is really damaged, and it's a very integral part of life for every process here on Earth. So it's been negatively affected by so many different things, all of the different contaminants, and there's the medicines, there's the pesticides, the petrochemicals. Just think of the fracking. All of us are really happy that our gas prices are lower, but at what cost? You know, we're fracking and we're pumping these chemicals down into the lower tables of our water tables, and it's really affecting our water. And we've got, you know, other industrial pollutants. We have heavy metals, we have radiation and more. And, you know, I come from Minnesota, and we are the land of over 10,000 lakes. I was appalled to find out that we had the most toxic water in America. I was blown away by that because I thought that in Minnesota we did things a little more consciously and a little more clean, but really the reality of it is what we were finding out is that our water was so polluted. Why? From all the farming, the pesticides, the runoff.
The mining.
So you couldn't even trust the water in all of these different lakes in Minnesota. So all these contaminants are one thing, but then when you look at the cycle of precipitation and evaporation and magnetic energy, electrical transmissions, our cell phones, our radios, our signals, our Wi-Fi, all of these additives, all of these processes that we experience affect our ordinary drinking water. It steals it of its vitality, and it takes away that life-giving force. So it negatively affects our soil as well, and the foods that we grow in the soil. So you can see this overall cycle of toxicity that we're exposed to that we really need to become conscious about and really help our bodies to get back this structured water. Exactly. That can bring back our health.
And that's the key, because what we're talking about is the fourth phase of water. You know water is a liquid, you know it as a gas, as steam, and you know it as a frozen substance, as ice. But there's a fourth phase, and it's this structured phase that we're going to share tonight. And Tina, I think everything you mentioned just adds to the stress that we add to our bodies and to our environment and to our lives. And we constantly tell everyone, if you don't take STEM Renew for anything else, you take it for stress mediation, stress reduction, and it helps you handle the stress in your life. And this chart that we have here now is showing how the ingredients in STEM Renew helps mediate stress. And you're looking at a chart of different ages of individuals. So you have men and women between 36 and 50, men and women between 51 and 70, and men and women between 71 and 83. And you see, as we age, the stress levels intensify. The stress levels go higher and higher. And we measure this with cortisol. And what we're showing here is that those that take STEM Renew have a greater reduction of the higher levels of stress. And this is interesting, and because this chart is in this conversation tonight, because as we age, we not only increase in our cortisol levels because of the stress on the body and aging, but it's a direct reflection of our dehydration. As we age, our cells become less and less fluid, less and less retaining the, let's say, the liquidity that we're born with. So as we age, there's less water in the cell. There might be more water in the body, but it's edema. It's water that's outside the physiological functions. It's the swelling that we experience that's in our ankles, in our fingers, in our joints, and all the places we don't want the water. We want the water inside the cell. So here you have an opportunity to take a wonderful product called Cluster X2 that creates this structured water, this living water, and you take it with your supplements, and when you take it with STEM Renew, you really decrease stress on a multidimensional level. You decrease it because you're opening up the fluids into the cell, and then you're reducing stress that way, and then also you have the ability to reduce cortisols because of all the other dynamics that STEM Renew provides.
You talked about edema and holding on to water outside of the cell. That is really harmful as we age because that puts pressure, on your organs. It puts pressure on your systems. And so if you can change that to absorb it back into the cell and eliminate it outside of the cell, you're talking right there about having a huge shift in your wellness.
Right. Just the key to anti-aging right there. And it has to happen on the cellular level, at the core of our being. So when you take a look at this slide of the cell, take a look at the outside surface. This is where we exchange the environment from the outside, and it can happen through simple osmosis, where a oxygen molecule or a carbon dioxide molecule can go in and out, or a single molecule of water goes in. As the Nobel Prize winning technology has shown, it only goes in one molecule at a time. So this is one form. It's called osmosis. Another form of communication from that surface is through these channels or receptor sites that we explained to you. In STEM Renew, one of its key functions is to build healthy receptor sites to receive the signaling that comes from the STEM Renew and the other nutrients that we provide with the NHT products. So you see, again, this synergy and this coordination that happens. And then you have to have this cell surface that is very plastic, it has a plasticity, meaning it has very flexible, so that it can engulf substances and bring them into the surface or to expel substances. And this is called endocytosis and exocytosis. So here you're seeing 4 different ways that molecules and transportation happens on the cell membrane, so that all this wonderful functions can happen within the nucleus, where the genetic expression happens, where the mitochondria make energy. So this transport is so critical, but it requires a healthy environment on the outside and on the inside, which is 70 to 80%, if not more, of water, but it has to be living, structured water so that transport can happen.
So what you're talking about is as we age, the outside of the cell can become very hard.
Yes.
And
From
the
bad
other,
fats especially.
especially from those bad fats. So that's why we talk about complementing with our omega-3, which is a fabulous
Good fat.
good fat, right? So you've got that piece. Now, the other thing that you mentioned was the signaling. Why is the signaling important? Because we lose the ability not only to have the signaling as we age, but we lose the ability to receive the signal. We have to receive that signal that tells it goes to the inside and tells the instructions of the cell what to do. It activates those instructions so the cell knows what to do. So that's why we see such amazing changes with people that take STEM Renew, and then when you couple it with Cluster X2, wow, you have an amazing wellness response that happens.
Absolutely. And here's what it looks like. It totally improves the rate of absorption. Now, we spoke about these 4 different ways that things absorb into the cell. And when the water composition is balanced or at its optimal with structured water inside and just healthy water on the outside, you have this incredible exchange of biochemistry that goes on. But even more important than that, Tina, is the electromagnetic dynamics. And what we're talking about here is that structured water not only has a specific structure to facilitate this, orchestration and dance of life that goes on within the cell and outside the cell, but the electrical potential. We're energy beings. And this is what it looks like on the surface of a cell, is that when you have structured water, you have a electrical potential. So the picture on the right is an actual microscopy, electron microscope view of water and how it separates out from this surface lining. And that surface lining has a very negative charge, and then everything it pushes away has a very positive charge. And this is why we talk about the electrical potential of a cell has to have a negative charge, and this is what a healthy cell is. And that negative charge allows for life to happen. This is why the energy potential is increased. Now, let me give you an example of what happens. Structured water builds its cellular structure on proteins, and it requires this electrical charge in order to build this structure, because that's what holds it together, this electromagnetic field. Now, I know this can get really complicated and you get into some heavy-duty physics. This is quantum physics, but it allows you to appreciate how important the water is, because when you do all the things we do to our water today, it doesn't have this electrical potential, Tina. So it doesn't allow for this electrical charge to happen. This is why in the previous slide you saw that the water doesn't absorb into the cell. And it's the structured water that does absorb because of this electrical potential.
Let me see if I understand what you're saying. On these 2 slides, here, the one on the left and one on the right, there's a drawing of what is happening on the right.
Exactly.
So you see that white line on the right picture, that's the outside of the cell, that's the cell line. And this is the proper way it should look if you have a charged cell.
And this is how it would structure on proteins. This is how it structures on the surface of the cell where the proteins are. So this is how water makes energy happen. And it allows for the light energy to come into our bodies and be grabbed and enhance this potential. So if you want to take full advantage of the sunlight and the light that we're exposed to, this is the water that allows you to do that, to absorb that electrical potential. Now, to show how this is how life works, because this is what we teach in naturopathy, we're no different than the rest of life, and all of life requires this structured water, and this is how nature makes it. This is what it goes through.
Well, and the other thing that you mentioned, we're talking about physical, but let's talk about consciousness too.
Exactly.
So what is consciousness? Is light. And we want to have that light in our cells. We need our cells to be healthy.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
Light is information, and then the information comes in and stores in this structure, this crystalline structure that we have, this water. So here's what happens in nature. You have spring water that is full of the structured water. Glacial water is what we talked about is structured water is a transition from liquid water to ice. And before it becomes ice, it becomes structured. So now it's been discovered that if you melt glacier water, you can capture this structured water. And this is why you see bottled water being sold as glacial water is very, very powerful. Vortexing water, spinning it, which naturally happens in streams and rivers as it goes within the rocks and the sides of the riverbeds, it vortexes, and this is how it captures its energy and becomes structured. Juicing, meaning we take fresh fruits and vegetables and we extract the living water from the plants and the fruits and the vegetables, and we put structured water in our systems that way. Antioxidants, one of their main functions is to give a negative charge to the tissue that it's being worked on. So antioxidants help create structured water. Sunlight builds structured water. Like we said, it's captured within the structure. Our circulation, the blood goes through our chambers of our heart and actually is vortex. It spins within the chambers, and it allows it to capture and create the structure within the fluids of the blood. And then you have other forms of light like infrared that is part of the spectrum of sunlight, but is very powerful in this light energy into the body, and why people are starting to move towards these infrared saunas. And infrared light therapy is very powerful in helping, joints heal and traumas heal. And one of the reasons is because it allows the structured water to enhance its energy, and the more energy a cell has,
The healthier.
faster it heals, the younger it becomes. So we're no different than nature, and then this is how nature exemplifies using structured water and allowing all life to happen. So let's take a look at the core cellular formulas from NHT that allow this to happen. So we explained how stem renew has the signaling that allows for this orchestration to happen. And these signals require a healthy fluid within the body so that these signals can pass through with unencumbered. It's like looking through a clear glass versus a frosted glass. When it's clear and healthy and vibrant, like the structured water creates, you have easy signaling, and so you see the synergy there between the clustered water that's creating the structured water in the body and the stem renew signaling that requires this optimal signaling to be at its highest when it goes through structured water.
Well, and that signaling needs those antennae on the outside of the cell to be very healthy, and that's one of the things that stem renew does.
Exactly.
Is assists with those antennae on the outside of the cell.
And then on the cellular level, we have another phenomenon that happens is that as we age, we build up calcium deposits inside the cell. And guess what Restore Silver and Restore Vital do? It breaks down these calcium deposits. It enhances the enzyme that regulates the calcium inside and outside the cell. So here you have three formulas that work specifically on enhancing cellular function, cellular vitality, cellular energy, cellular communication, and bottom line, making you younger and stronger and healthier. All of these formulas are core for your overall health and well-being, no matter what your age, what your condition, what your gender. It's just, this is the secret of life that we're sharing with you here. So structured water gives you the opportunity to cleanse your body in a better way. So you have the Restore Vital, Restore Silver that breaks up these calcium deposits, and you bring in the structured water that helps move it in and out. You have these unhealthy cells that have lost their electrical potential. They don't have that strong negative charge anymore, and they become very weak and loss of vibrancy, and they break down and die much sooner. So the renewal cycle of the cell, instead of a healthy skin cell renewing itself every couple of weeks. It might take as much as 10 to 12 weeks, and it's just non-functional in what its ability to do and protect us and help keep us young and strong.
Well, we know if we have healthy cells, we can have healthy tissues, we can have healthy organs, healthy systems. So we need to focus on the cellular level.
Exactly. Now, this cell picture here, the unhealthy cell versus the healthy cell, you see the flow and movement of activity going inside of the cell very easily with a healthy cell. So when we introduce the ingredients of STEM Renew, these ingredients are necessary for that exchange to happen. So when we get the signal proteins from the egg, when we get the glyconutrients from the aloe vera that make up the receptor sites, when we get the chaperone molecules from the shark cartilage that facilitate the movement of the proteins, they require this healthy water to move things in and out. When we introduce the mineral complex, the sea mineral complex that brings in all the electrolytes that creates this electrical potential that we're capturing from the sunlight and from the infrared, from the photons that we're capturing in the structured water, they require the spark plugs that we get from the marine minerals that build the tissue, to build the healthy bones, that make the good bone marrow so that we can have plenty of stem cells as we age. And then, of course, the antioxidant support from the green tea that has this negative electrical potential that we talked about earlier. We talk about the polyphenols and the EGCG that is a great antioxidant that we get from the green tea, but nobody talks about that electrical potential that it provides, which is so important with the antioxidant.
And because we're energy beings, we're electrical beings.
Exactly. So there's so much to say about using all the building blocks that come with the NHT products and the orchestration that comes from STEM Renew, but without the living structured water, all of that is inhibited or it's slowed. So when you add the Cluster X2 to your health program, you're ensuring this exchange of building blocks that come from the NHT products. You're ensuring the signaling that goes on from the STEM Renew that orchestrates all this, building and renewal that comes from the stem cells and the STEM Renew orchestration.
We have so many people that love to take STEM Renew and forget about the other products. And if you want to take your health, your wellness, how you feel to the next level, make sure you're incorporating the Cluster X2.
Exactly.
Taking a look at incorporating the Restore products because they are phenomenal at getting to that cellular health.
And I think, Tina, no one has ever spoken to the general public about how their body works energetically on the cellular level and how the manifestation of that divine orchestration of energy can happen much better with the use of these products. So these three core products that we introduced today, the STEM Renew, the Cluster X2, the Restore products, are energetic products. They're dynamic in their ability to make you young again, because our youth and vitality is dependent upon our energy, not dependent upon just our age alone, right?
Great. Well, thank you everyone for being on tonight's webinar. We'll see you next Tuesday. And we're not sure what the topic's going to be, but we'll send out a constant contact for you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Good night, everyone.